Show starts right now.
Cut the damn music. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the national airwaves of ESPN Radio and the ESPN News. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you with 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM/FM listing nearest you. Plus ESPN Radio coming at you on Sirius XM Channel 80. Plus ESPN Radio coming at you live over the national television airwaves of ESPN News. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. No contracts. I'm going to try to keep my cool. I'm going to try to put in perspective the kind of day this is. I'm going to try to put in perspective the fact that there are silver linings lying everywhere, even when we don't see it. After all, the New York Knicks are not a worse team than they were yesterday. After all, the New York Knicks did not hamstring their future. They didn't negate exercising prudency. After all, the New York Knicks, on this particular day, one could argue that, you know what, they could end up being very interesting. But that's not where my mind is right now. It's not where my heart is right now. Because as I sit here and I contemplate the circumstances surrounding the New York Knicks, what they have lost out on, why they have lost out, and what it means for the future of this franchise, I'm sick to my stomach. I would tell you, JC, I would tell you, Jonathan, that I'd love to throw up to get this bile out of my system. But the fact of the matter is I already have. I've already thrown up. I've already cried. I'm serious. I'm not joking. I have both cried and I have thrown up. And guess what? The bile, the toxic stuff inside of my body is still there. I mean, this is unbelievable to me that we are finding ourselves in this position. I understand that Steve Mills and Scott Perry and David Fisdale know what they're doing. I understand they have a vision. You're going to have to forgive me if I don't give two damns about that right now. I see. There's a guy that just walked into this room where I do radio. This guy is supposed to be my brother.
It's a rebirth.
I love this man.
It's a rebirth. It's a new day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's a new beginning.
You hear an echo in this room. You hear a voice in this room. He is a former player of the year. in college basketball, one of the great college basketball players I've ever seen. All-American, Player of the Year, national champion, my colleague here, my brother, Jay Williams. But on this particular moment in time, he is the modern, Benedict Arnold. He betrayed me. All of them. Him, Jay-Z, Juan Perez, all of these folks here. Now, I love Jay Williams. He's phenomenal. But on this day, yeah, you of all people, because you were the ringleader, you're tight with KD, you're over there, you're connected with Brooklyn, they love you, you got season tickets, courtside seats. When? How long have you had that? For a year and a half. So you knew this was happening. You knew this was happening. You sure?
That's pure coincidence.
Sure? How could y'all do this?
I just
to me?
want you to know, Julius Randle, Bobby Portis,
oh my God,
Reggie Bullock.
Oh my God,
this is rebuilding. This is the way it should have been a long time ago.
Are you telling me?
No, I'm not saying it's the right. I'm not saying it's the great move that everybody expected. All I'm saying is that the steps about the personalities and the mentality that you have with these pieces that you're bringing on now, even though you're paying people a little bit high on prices, I like it though to a certain extent.
Really? You're gonna sit here today, Jay Williams, today and say this,
brother? How long we've been talking about this? I know you've been hearing rumors and speculation. But the nitty-nitty, we kind of knew that the Knicks really weren't going to land one of the big free agent targets.
You talked about it for months.
You and I have been talking about this.
About it for months.
And I know that sometimes you as a fan, it's challenging because this is your squad, and I respect that. I love that about you because I don't think a lot of people can own that they have some squads. But this is the right kind of rebirth. Just build through the process. 3 years ago, the Nets were nothing. They weren't nothing 3 years ago. But can we actually say maybe Steve Mills is on the right track here?
You know why? You know why I have a problem with what you're saying?
Why?
Because I didn't come on the air and say that the Knicks weren't better today than they were yesterday. I didn't sit up there and discredit the New York Knicks for exercising prudency. What I said was two things, and I'm going to say it right now for this audience. First of all, the marquee, Madison Square Garden, New York City, the Knicks brand, lost out to a franchise that arrived in town 5 years ago. I mean, this is bad, man.
That's James Dolan, though.
Okay.
So every time he says something, you don't really listen to it anyway. Is that fair?
James Dolan?
When James Dolan, when he talks, when he says stuff, do you really listen to it?
No.
Let's be real. Okay.
No.
So he set expectations high.
Where he get that from?
That's who he is.
Where he get that from? That's who he is. He get this. He just got that from that. He just got the man that all he cares about is playing his guitar with his joke of a band. This dude gonna go on Michael K's show on 98.7 FM in New York City and talk about, you know what? I think we're gonna have a great summer. He just decided to do that out of thin air. Really? Is that what you're saying?
All I'm saying is that there are repeated habits that are not conducive to winning a championship. And that's all I've seen from Jim Dolan. Now, Scott Perry and Steve Mills, different story. Actually think, and I heard you today on multiple shows talking about that's an indictment on the franchise, but I will say this, and we talked about this. There aren't a lot of franchises out there that have 3 African-American guys who are trying to tap into the new free agency market. I give them credit for that.
I give them credit. I give Dolan credit for that. Well, excuse me. Somebody's cutting those checks for them, and that would be James Dolan. And so we got that. And just like I said, you think I'm not happy to see 3 brothers in that position? Of course I am. But did they get an interview?
No, they did not.
Thank you. Is that not bad?
That is bad.
All right, that's where I'm coming from, Jay, because you're real. Now, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Listen, I'm your man. I might not be coming to your franchise, but if Jay Williams is running a franchise and he wants me as a marquee free agent, how much you want? You know the answer to this question. Am I going to give you a visit before I make my decision?
1,000%.
Thank you very much. So what am I supposed to think when we don't even get a visit?
I mean, are we going to say this? Because there's only one direction that's going. Are we going to clean house?
It wouldn't surprise me.
That's the only direction it can go.
It wouldn't surprise me. But let me tell you something. If you're going to clean house, Dolan got to go too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's...
If you're going to clean house, Dolan got to go.
That's the house I'm talking about cleaning. That's the house I'm talking about cleaning. I'm not talking about cleaning the house below that house, which is where Steve Mills and Scott Perry are. I'm talking about cleaning the house above that one. I got to go. See, this gets me emotional. I feel you. I just came in to say hello and give you support. I know today's been a very emotional day for you.
I know you love me. But on this particular subject, no. None of y'all are here for me. None of y'all are here for me. All of you have turned your back on me.
Right next to me next year and the year after that and the year after that, right across the East River. We're here for you.
I might have to leave town, man. I might have to leave town. I just don't know how much more of this I can take, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in a bad mood, but Jay Williams just made it worse. Jay Williams just made it worse because he knows what's going on here. He knows what's going on here better than most. An absolute travesty. Now, let me break this down right now. And let me make sure that everybody understands exactly what I am trying to say about the New York Knicks and how disgraceful, how pathetic, how moribund things are. I am not saying that Julius Randle is a bad signing. I am not saying that Bobby Portis is a bad signing. I'm not saying that the New York Knicks are wrong for engaging in prudency and what have you. That is not what I'm saying. Nor am I even saying that they're a worse team today than they were yesterday, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is the same franchise that hasn't had a championship since 1973. The same franchise that hasn't been to a conference finals since 1999. The same franchise that's won just one playoff series in 20 years. The same franchise that has been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons was still the New York Knicks in the heart of New York City, playing at Madison Square Garden. They're worth about $5 billion. They lost marquee superstars to a team in Brooklyn, New York that just got here about 5 or 6 years ago. That just got here in 5 or 6 years. In 5 or 6 years, the Brooklyn Nets pulled off what the Knicks haven't been able to pull off in the last 50 years. That's where I'm going with this. I mean, this is just horrible. What y'all want me to say? Over the last few months, we saw Charles Oakley, physically removed from Madison Square Garden. We saw a video of James Dolan banning a fan from the Garden because the fan asked him to sell the team. We've seen the NBA fine the Knicks $50,000 for exiling a reporter for the New York Daily News from a press conference, only for the New York Knicks to follow up and still ban the newspaper again. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing pettiness. We're seeing petulance. We're seeing a media policy that everybody continuously acts and just dismisses like it's no factor. If you're a marquee name, why be a part of this? And now we've got the Barclays Center looking like it's Madison Square Garden. Lonzo Trier can play. Dennis Smith Jr. can play a little bit. Kevin Knox has potential. R.J. Barrett has potential. Mitchell Robinson has potential. But on a day that you lose out to KD and Kyrie, nobody wants to hear a damn word about Julius Randle. It couldn't wait 24 hours? You couldn't reach a deal then? Nobody wants to hear about Bobby Portis on the day that you lost out on KD and Kyrie? You don't know that? Nobody wants to see reports that the New York Knicks weren't going to sign KD to the max because they were worried about his medical situation. You don't want to hear that on the day that KD and Kyrie signed with Brooklyn. Do you have any idea how that made the New York Knicks look? Now, in fairness to them, the report wasn't accurate. When Ramona Shelburne, in concert with Woj, reported the Knicks and owner James Dolan were not prepared to offer Kevin Durant a full max contract due to concerns over his recovery from the Achilles injury, league sources tell her and Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski. This is something I went on the air and reported over a week ago. New York Knicks wanted to see that medical report. They were a bit apprehensive. My point is, on the day